All right, here we go again. Now, speaking out loud into the mind of the existence, when the Almighty God said, you know, you probably should be broadcasting this. So let's start with this, because this is the first thing that came up this morning. So one of the indicators of a deep state, as strange as it sounds, it's almost the opposite of, the Lord's modifying it here. So it gets broader than, because it is broader. Or we'll give it specific, but just overview. Okay, it was developed by spies and criminal investigators and psychologists, right? So one of the indicators of it being deep state, and the beast, also known as the beast, also known as organized crime, racketeering, and organized crime, racketeering, extortion, criminal enterprises that have a connection to government officials, right, is the fact that the case has protections against being prosecuted that appear to be, at first you're not going to see that, you're just going to notice something, appear to be inserted. First you're going to notice that, well, this isn't a good case because look over here, look over there. Well, that's inserted. Like, how do you make a case look false? Or you can give the other investigator who's corrupt something that they can present. Okay, this person didn't say anything for 3 years, didn't say anything for 5 years. Right. Again, that's also an indicia of the mob, that has a control over a complete community. Right. That's when they were doing it to us in Baltimore. The takeover was don't say anything. They told everybody you'll be safe if you don't say anything. That's false. You want to say something right away. Right. But you'll find that, so you'll go, so if you're a corrupt investigator, you'll say, oh, he didn't say anything right away. That's a sign that, it probably isn't true. Only after he was caught did he say something. It's bullshit. Right. So again, it'll have signs that an investigator fashioned it to beat an investigation. Believe me, anybody that says it's not happening or it can't be prosecuted is part of the deep state. In some way, shape, or form, whether Republican or church member or Democrat, right? Because that's a scam. It's not a political party. Now, you may use it as a political party because you have some reason to do that. But again, people like the LDS, they know it's a money-making scheme and it's criminal enterprise. 100%. Thank you, Larry. And yeah, it gives them position and power. Like they teach them that. Like the two of the operators, I don't know when they got their position, but it's appearing to me that it's possibly when it was switched to Overland Park, when they split Overland Park and Olathe. I don't know if I was there at the fruition of that, where they actually split them apart. But I know the one guy got office, right, within probably 3 weeks of it starting, maybe 4 weeks. The woman obviously had office, but I think both women had office. I don't remember the other women because I'm not paying attention to people. They're trying to force you to pay attention to their victimizers, to their abusers, to their criminals. Every one of those people who did that to me, there's a felon. I'll tell you that right now. They are a felon. There's no doubt they're a felon. Again, felony isn't that you were prosecuted. A felony is a crime. When you commit it, it's a felony. Right. Now, there are mitigating circumstances, but in this case, no. Right. Well, I'm the authority around here. And now you do it. I'm the authority. Whoa. Thank you, Larry. Well, they'll give a corrupt cop every reason not to prosecute. Thank you, Larry. So it's going to have indicia of organized crime. You see, that's the weird part, because it's also indicia of organized crime. But they said Now let's go to the woman lieutenant in Florida, whose wife killed the baby. Right. I'll tell you what, somebody did her. It's not her fault, whoever it was. Right. There's mitigating circumstances, or killed the child. Thank you, Larry. Now, if you can hear, they're going, well, this is why these people are dangerous, regardless who did it. You see, that's where they go next. That's another sign. Where it doesn't matter that it happened because now we're confronted with a situation of a dangerous person. And then what do? They go right back to what the other people were doing in psychological torture of their victim. You see that? And this has been seen. You people that cover it up will go to hell just as fast as the people that do it. And maybe even faster because you were given much. You were given the ability to stop the deep state and you refused to it. So here's another example. So in government, the deep state, I explained to you before you took office, are going to show you a bunch of people for you to hate. They were on certain cases. Some were just simply on cases. Some were political operators. Some were fringe people who might have a couple of emails. Yeah, we'll get that son of a gun. You know, jargon you use in any case, right? But they'll call that like anti-Trump loyalty or something like that. You fired some of the best people and kept some of the biggest deep state people in the government. I'll tell you that right now. And what they're doing to you is they're going to pull the wool over your eyes. They're going to deceive you as a president, as an administration, and make you believe that you need to do certain things and say certain things and be certain ways to get rid of the deep state when they are the deep state. You're going in directions that you need not go. Because in the beginning, I can tell you that by the time you get somewhere, you're going to be back 50 steps. The other side's going to laugh. They're going to get a metaphysical up. Because you lost, unreversed. Thank you, Larry. See, they're just sitting there going, reverse, reverse, reverse. So living my life. They actually are living my life. Not because I say so, because they have a whammy that does that. Then you gave them the power to have that whammy. Do you understand? When you empower them in government. You know, it's like I said when I was a kid. I don't think I finished the story this time around. WWE wrestling, my older brother and his friends would pit me and my little brother against each other. But when I look at it, I realize today that I wouldn't even engage in it because there's no reason to. They were willing it up. Right. So my brother got somewhere in life, but he wills things. Right. Well, if you want to will things, you could send you straight to hell. I don't care who you are or what forgiveness you say you have, all of it. Now, again, you may not be willing things, like using your intrinsic will against God's will, because it's always going to go against God's will. I mean, there's like 1 in a trillion chance that you know how to fasten your will. You can do parameters. That's one thing. The second thing is, you may not be able to do it if you're truly subservient to God. LDS, not subservient to God. Baptists I've met, not subservient to God. Subservient to the deep state, which means they can move their will against God, and have, most likely. Thanks, Larry. You know, Yogi Bhajan Sikhs, Hare Krishna, same thing. Obviously, God would want me with people and having a normal life and having a wife. So anybody that tried to change that, you moved your will against God, all of you. Unreversed, they just sitting there keeping reversing it. Now, it could be automatic, too. It's built into their system, right? Because it's about to slam them and they know it. Right, so you'll see indicia of organized crime. So, okay, well, let's go back to her. What could have happened? Let's say you're investigating that. And you say, well, somebody could have been following her, but look, nobody was at her door. You know, that was just the Amway salesman or the LDS missionaries. Well, the LDS missionaries, Amway salesmen, that's the people that are deep state. I don't even know if Amway's around anymore. It used to be a door-to-door thing. Right. Thank you, sir. Well, because if you're a dirty cop, you go, oh yeah, nobody was at her door. It's fake. Right. And what she's not telling you, there may have been state police following her, because they may be assigned to the deep state mission of getting rid of her husband, because they're corrupt. Or that particular officer in that, because you know how state police run. There's a barracks, and you know, if a barracks goes rotten, or even a portion of a barracks, right? But again, they're using what? Their badge as credibility. But what are they doing? They're killing cops. Now, if you do that cop long enough, he's going to F off other cops, and they'll say he's killing cops, right? Like I said, I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-corruption. You're anti-police, all of you. You're killing cops. You're Carnaby. You're in Houston. And probably that should happen to you by the hands of other police officers when it's required. Right. Or if you speed off and you pull a gun out, you should be shot. And maybe that'd be a good thing for you all to do. Because how many people are you will to do that? See? No, he was killing cops. Carnaby was killing cops, and he came up against a wall. Houston PD was strong enough back then for him to freak out, speed off, and then get shot. It's a clean shoot. I don't care what they say. Right? Carnaby was the alleged CIA guy, but he doesn't come up as CIA, but yet they clung to him and gave him, at least media protection. Why? Because he's one of those contractors I talk about, the official, unofficial contractor. He was made a rich man on earth just to kill cops for the CIA and the FBI and all the millionaires, right? Because they ain't going down like Ames, they ain't going down like Hansen and the others, right? Right. Oh, I'm sure they've had tons of criminal enterprises. Go to Baltimore. They eventually ruled Baltimore. It took I don't even know, 10 years to begin it after I left, I guess, or maybe a little less than 10, probably about 5-6 years. Right. They're corrupt. So they took the biggest criminal enterprises, which was a Baltimore PD, and again, spread it out through the community so they don't think the feds are only getting hit, or the state or the local. So I don't know if I think the state police had something too, but Baltimore Police Department, they found a cell of people selling drugs. But why were they able to do that? Because they were deep state. Right. In the feds, they found a couple DEA guys that were part of something like that. I don't forget what they were doing, right? But something similar, yet different. Right. Thank you, Larry. But when I was there, that's what the problem really was. Right. Right. They were corrupt, and you can't trust this guy to be corrupt. He's too. And then they made up the story where I'm a thug hugger and all that, and they're the thug huggers. Believe me, Karen Shelton. So many times they said, there's rumors that she's, too close to this Don Juan character in the cell block. Right. So then but see, this is the point. If they make it up about them, then they try to make it up about me. They're having this battle with me that doesn't exist, right? Because I'm asleep anyway to begin with. I have no idea what anything is. I mean, I was probably one of the most asleep people on the planet. That just shows you the level of intelligence that I have, that I could actually get there asleep. Sapper leader, marshal service, corrections, right? I'd be good at it, right? Actually, great at it. Oh my God. Oh no, they're devils, man. They're full-born devils. These people are full-born devils. They'll kill a cop in a second. And they'll use spies and crooks and all sorts of people to do it. The cartel system is actually the same system they have. It's just done a little more quietly here. Right? Well, suicide by cop is one of their favorites because they get to shoot their victim. Right? But sometimes one of the indicia of it is somebody comes out of a car and just goes crazy on someone. Now, the person they go crazy on could be deep state, or might just be an illusion, right? Created by the deep state. Like I told you, they'll try to shift the numbers. They'll use a number. They go, what is the number, Moore? What is the number? It doesn't matter, really, because I had no problem with that number until, right? If they drug me or they're torturing me actively, I'll have trouble with numbers that they keep bringing up, right? Because that's what they're doing. They're creating a trigger number. They'll tell you it's an investigative number. It's bullshit. It's not even a ruling number. It's a number that they get paid to put out there to kill their victim. So here's another thing. Let's say you're taking melatonin, and when you take melatonin, you're well. That's all you need in life, melatonin, or some other supplement. When you buy it, they'll attack you, but they will also drug you and make you think it's your supplement. That's why I tightened up. Right. But again, they were drugging me also. People were in here, and I'm sure they were drugged. There's nothing I can do. The cops are corrupt around here. State police are corrupt. Well, they'll just go, oh, you're crazy. Hee hee. And God will go, you're crazy. Hee hee, go to hell. Well, what they're saying is that they go to hell on the planet. That's not in evidence in at least the New Testament, right? Well, we're not going to hell, you are, and we have money and temples and girlies. You ever notice out the LDS? Go look at it. For years, I just thought it was something weird. All those girlies. It's almost like no wonder Elizabeth Smart was abducted. I'm not saying it's right, but they put off something. Right. Correct. 100%. That you have to block. Oh, not today there, Satan. Oh, move away. Right. For years, I just thought it was weird, like it was an external thing, but now I know it's an internal thing. Right. Trying to get guys turned on to little girlies. And if they can extort you with it, they will. Right. Which means if you look at an LDS commercial and they're projecting, or advertisement, whatever it is, and they're projecting at you, and some of them were really, I don't think in their actual official videos are a little more careful in what they wear. But they like wearing paper-thin dresses. There's a group of people within LDS, women, that wear paper-thin dresses that hip hug. And believe me, they watch their figure. And I'm sure the men watch their figure while they're bullshitting everybody about what's going on. No, it's not me. It ain't who felt it dealt it. Believe me, I know what's going on. Thanks, lady. Well, if you connect, now there could be a point where you're a victim of the deep state. So they may only do it to victim of the deep state, but I doubt it. I'm sure that if you're not a victim of the deep state, somewhere along the line, they have sex with a boss in the LDS, and next thing you know, they're the made person. I suspect the woman that did it to me probably had sex with several LDS bosses over the years, and she becomes a maid person. They're squirrels, man. They can't live without a status. That's why a lot of cops kill themselves. They can't get away from that status. They can't leave the badge. Right. I realized I didn't leave early enough. Right. But I did leave before I was dead. So when you see that, you have to fight that, which means you have to fight sexuality at that point. And they're not testing you; they're Satan. You have a normal day. You ain't thinking about nothing sexual. Here comes the LDS woman projecting her pee thing. Right. It's real. It's inherent in their system. Some of the women may not even know they're doing it. Because I brought that up with children, because they do that to children also. Most people are afraid to speak about it because they probably sexually offended or something, right? I'm about the only person on the planet that speaks about it, and probably the only person at this point that's intelligent enough. And Hashem says I'm intelligent enough because I spoke about it. So the more I speak about, the more information I get. Right? That's why they tell you not to speak about it. So nobody can compare notes. Nobody can become intelligent about what they're actually doing. Yeah, you see, they're gonna have they have the stupid arguments. Oh, no matter what it is, he's saying the little girls turn him on. That's not what I just said. You see, a bullshit statement, just like a crook makes, right? Right. Like I said, I can see sexual projection. That's different than getting turned on. Now, if I allowed it, yeah, I'd probably get turned on, and that makes me wrong because you're sexually projecting from your church to the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars. And billions of dollars in temples, let alone the cash value. That's one of the murkiest things in the world. How much money does the LDS actually have? It's one of the murkiest things in the world. Well, I'm about ready to move, and you don't want me moving because you want me here so you can make your money and crash me because you're all freaking out because somebody actually rejected what you were doing sexually to them in your church. Getting cower in the corner. And the reasons people cower in the corner, they'll go, well, that means they're guilty of a sex crime if they get angry. Now it's if you get angry, but it used to be if they cower in the corner that they're guilty of a sex crime. They killed Jonathan Luna around that shit in my life. They tortured me and my family around that in their life for years on end, decades. And I shouldn't have a reaction to it? Fuck you, and fuck every one of your families, and fuck every person in your fucking families. Yeah. Arar. You just said fuck you to me. I told you, your words don't matter. To me, it's definitions of what you're saying. You can kiss me while you fuck me, but I know you're fucking me. If you don't want the treatment, then you don't do it. If another cop isn't going to do it to you, if cops aren't going to do it to you because they're scumbag pieces of shit part of it, then fuck you and fuck them. And I'll take it. Take it into my own hands, and that's metaphysical and verbal. And you know it. 35 fucking years! And you want to say I'm going to freak out and hurt somebody after you killed person after person? Okay, the cops love suicide by cop. They love it. Cops of the deep state love suicide by cops. They psychologically operate them until they freak out and they can shoot them. Pieces of shit, even drugging them. Just because I talk about cops doesn't mean I'm an anti-cop person. I'm anti-corruption. I'm speaking about corruption, correct? Am I correct? Come on, project from your heads. Am I anti-corruption? Oh, you don't want to speak? Fuck you, fuck your families. There you go. That's how they act all day long. That's what they do all day long. Walk into a room full of, yeah, fuck him. And then they all fuck me. It's that simple. From day one, in the Justice Department, fuck him, fuck him, fuck him, fuck him. For 12 years, till I left. Didn't have a clue that was going on. Didn't have a clue it even existed. Now, if the new Justice Department thinks they're going to go fuck him, fuck him, fuck him, fuck you and fuck your families. Now, if you aren't doing it, that doesn't affect any of you. You have a problem with the word fuck you in the church? Too fucking bad. I showed you the evidence yesterday that I'm an angel of vengeance. Your fucking problem, all of you, not mine. If fuck you is the way to engage in vengeance on this planet, then fuck you. Two things happen. I curse you, and then I go up, because you willed me to say fuck you like a bunch of idiots. Now I go up. You ruled me to say fuck you. I say fuck you, I go up, you go down now. I tell you, it only takes so many years before God's power comes back on. Right. See? Regular church goes, oh, why can't I say fuck you? I have to cower in the corner and give them 20% tithing at a minimum, or they'll come get me. Well, maybe I'll give them 30%. No, leave me alone. Right. Sorry. So we'll go back to Florida because they keep pulling us away from that. So that woman was caused to commit that murder. See, we're not far enough along because she should actually be found innocent. The people stalking her should be found, and he should be charged with murder. Just like the drug cases, right? Where fentanyl kills somebody. You need to start finding these people, and you need to start charging them with murder or whatever it causes, right? Thank you, Larry. That 19-year-old kid that was shot here was most likely deep-stated. The level of deep state in this community, in Overland Park, and Olathe and all that, in Johnson County, is mind-boggling and deafening. Thanks, Larry. So somewhere along the way, he was operating. Now, the cop, I don't know. The cop could have been operated. Doesn't mean the cop's automatically part of it. Right? But if they are, if he was psychologically operating in his career, then he's part of it, whether he psychologically operated that kid or not. It's so weird, their curses, man. So last night, I'm like getting hungry, so I'm eating raisins like when I'm half asleep. So I roll over in my bed. This is directly from their curse. It's bizarre. I mean, I have to tell you what they do. It's just amazing that they can do these type of things. I mean, amazing in a bad way. So I remember I got those. I went yesterday to get parts for my hearing aids, and they're called domes. They're just like the thing on the end of your headphones. The little headphones that you plug in your ear. Those little rubber things. They're called domes, right? So you have to replace them. Obviously, if you every so often, right? Probably more so. I probably replace them more so than on headphones. I just do it. I keep it clean as I can. So the ones I purchased yesterday weren't affected, but it was strange because they cursed. I'll explain a couple properties here. They cursed my globes, metaphysical properties. They cursed my globes, or the supplies I picked up. I don't know if they knew it exactly. Or domes. They call them domes, not globes. I keep thinking they call globes for some reason. right? Probably because they cursed them, right? So I roll over, instead of grabbing the bag of raisins, I grab a small bag of these domes and I throw them in my mouth. And I'm like, wait a minute. I knew right away that they were domes. I'm like, what? They cursed me. Oh my God. Thank you, marriage. So they cursed my supply. Now, why the old domes, not the new domes? Because the old domes have less power than the new domes. This is happening in everybody's life. This is how it all plays out. That's why you have to buy new stuff every so often. Like my old stuff, it doesn't seem like I can use it anymore because they cursed it. They're sick. Thank you, Lawrence. Now the curses are variegated. You could even just be a will for money. And all of a sudden you break everything you own. Well, everything's breaking. What's going on? See, so we're going to go into a time period where they're going to start willing money. Right. Because money's disappearing. No, there's no joke. That church is devils. I'm sure it's the whole church. There's enough complaints. It's not only me that's complaining. Right? I'm the one that can explain it to you. Right? Thanks, Larry. No, I mean, there's complaints of stalking, then nothing happened. I mean, can you imagine that? They're online going, I'm being stalked. Oh, well, we don't consider this stalking. They're good people. When are we going to build the next temple or my next swimming pool? Same thing. Playground. It's our playground. Oh, my God. Oh, no, they get in these positions in the church that are paid positions. Right. And the question is my question was whether some of them were, actively narcotics distribution, sex trafficking. Right. Remember, these type of people believe everybody has their place in life based upon, in the LDS would be based upon God's placement. So if you're a prostitute, be a good prostitute. I mean, I suspect the part in the scripture where it says, be a good slave, that was put in there by Romans. Right. And, I'm not speaking about the Roman church. Like I said yesterday, the reality of the church today is that the Roman church is actually reformed. And the evangelical church and the Baptist church is actually reverted to the Inquisition. Right. No, that's, if you don't know what happened, it actually started before Pope Francis, but Pope Francis was kind of the pinnacle. It's a reformation. Well, what they're doing is they're trying to judge people less, because you're not even supposed to judge people at all, of course. Well, look, I'm not telling you not to go to church because you're a deep state. I'm not telling you not to go to church because you're gay. So again, you're all doing that kind of thing, right? So again, it's different what I'm doing. 100%. And then, see, they will call evil good and good evil, right? No, there's an absolute need for what I'm doing. Absolute need. It should have been done 20 years ago. It should have been done 30 years ago and never got to the point of them taking over, right? They definitely took over the millennium was a good point. Well, see, people say, you mean the Bush people? See how that works? The Clintons, the Bushes, the Trumps, maybe they're not good people, but the takeover is inside the government. It's people that are there. So when Bush gets in, they go, fire that person, and they were the deep state. They were telling Bush how to fire the deep state. I think Bush figured it out and Cheney figured it out by the end of their administration, because of like with your administration, there's nobody left, right? Nobody can do anything. See, that's the scam of people that are fucking shitty cops. Get rid of the good cop, right? And then they become, nobody's going to say that they're not a shitty cop, right? One of the indicia of Baltimore after the assassinations is they promoted people that would have never been promoted in their life. They could barely do the work of a junior deputy or a junior investigator, right? Right. And they became inspectors, judicial security inspectors, right? Court security inspectors. And what was that other job? the NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical, something like that, inspector, right? But they also agreed in the Mars service, they agreed that we would have lower paid employees and lower ranked employees. Squirrels do that. Squirrels agree to stuff like that. I agree. Because, you know, they get to be, oh, I'm the senior member. Right. And where do you think it landed? Like the thing Koch Patel was trying to get rid of in the FBI. It was people that, you know, if you were college educated and part of this, well, part of the deep state, really. So at that point, you wouldn't, unless you proved the deep state, you would kill somebody that it was a coworker, you couldn't barely get promoted. Right? Some people were good enough to get promoted, but right. It wasn't only Baltimore also. Right, killing their competition, but they're using organized crime, racketeering. Right. Like I said, the case was worth millions. They worked through. They lied to Jim Spicer, so that's why they blocked me through his wife from communicating with him over the years. Right. She'll just *691 my number or something. Jim's not doing it. Right. And then they like send something to her bank account or whatever it is they do with it. Right. She was the one that said, you know, I'm just sitting there and I'm not thinking of nothing. Again, and she goes, I know Johnny Hughes wasn't part of it. I'm like, oh, he's part of it. As soon as Jim's wife told me that, I knew that he was part of it. That's how weird you all are. Like you don't even know how to. I mean, that's how easy it is to investigate. That's the point. They just throw information at you all day. The things they say, they come into work, and you can hear them. Right. Well, because I can't remember the exact evidence for it. I mean, definitely intuitively he's involved, right? But I think it was like a trend of that. Oh, this person's not involved. And they're like, I know that person's involved. So you get 3 or 4 people. The indicia of the criminal enterprise and its psychological manipulations is that they will, you know, say you'll have a group of people say, well, this person's not involved, but that actually means the person's involved because you know these 3 people are involved. They did the same thing with that person. Right. So that's one thing about the deep state. It's not entirely externally communicative. It's more so now than it ever was. So there's a lot of stuff they learn inside, little tricks of the psychology and all of that, right? Or learn, you know, in shadow method. But it's readable. Right. No idea how they got to that. Yeah, there's some stuff going on. It's pretty trippy. It's showing that their anti is up. Right. Thank you, Larry. I just read one of their courses just now, so I know what they're doing in reference to something. So there is a price to pay for putting this information out, but again, I work for the Almighty God. When Almighty God says the information needs to come out, then it comes out. Right? And it isn't a godly price, it's an earthly price. Right? Again, we're told about that in the scripture. No, they're not speaking the truth at all. Right. Churches are not speaking the truth at all. In fact, they're making money off of the fabrications. Midday. So what I'm trying to get to is something I opened up yesterday and I can't find it today. That's them. But I just need to order it as quick as I can. So what you have to be careful of is they will say something's better that they're doing and get you to agree that it worked out okay anyway. Like, oh, more got his retirement anyway. But that never stopped the deep state. I never had a single day away from the deep state all these years, and I'm not that dangerous person by any stretch of the imagination. Right. So the watch list was a scam. So yeah, their will at a minimum caused 9/11. So they could create that watch list and take out their victims. Right. Look, if it wasn't a missing exploited children, then you wouldn't hear me saying it's a missing exploited children. Do we understand that? Do we understand that that's how simple it is? Or do you just want to be ignorant pieces of shit? And quite possibly and quite probably criminal pieces of shit. No, their work doesn't, because they're the reason kids are getting raped. Their will is for kids to get raped so they can make their money and play their game. They don't care. Crocodile tears. Because if they're told to let your kid be raped and killed, then they let your kid be raped and killed. That's the culmination of the deep state. Thanks, Larry. Now, a lot of cases are solvable. They won't solve them because it's the chief of police or something like that. Right. But of course, they'll try to put it on Larry Moore. That's the scam. Or a billionaire or a millionaire it's paying. Right. They'll take the case away from them and put it on a victim who they're being paid to kill. Now, paid is various ways, even investments. They'll get investment tips, be put into a fund. Right. Like you talk about Pelosi. Pelosi's in a fund. Do we understand that? Right. There's Republicans in the fund too. I mean, again, somebody released information. I don't know if it's true that there's going to be Republicans that are going to be redacted out of something. Right. Doesn't sound good. Have no idea what the hell he was doing, but. Right. No Republican is no Democrat. It's all bullshit. Right. But they'll use that argument as a deep state argument. Right. The way curse on this stuff is so deep. Yeah, by watching someone's life, they can collapse everything with curses. You buy something for something to get you well, they'll curse it away and curse it not to work, which could cause it to be bought from India, where it doesn't even have 1/10 the potency. This is what's going on in the world. That's what the deep state's responsible for. Even our medication system is overcome by their will, and it's the will of Satan, of course. But we go to church. Thank you, Larry. I agree, Larry. Thank you. No, you sit there and curse people all day. This is their job. This is what they think their job, and actually it is. That's what they get paid for. That's where they make all their riches. Cursing and psychologically operating people into hellish lives. You go, well, it's God. And then you get the church's part. Well, God's doing it. I guess God is attacking him. So they call themselves God. They really do. Right? You're not going to hear them speak the words I speak. We're speaking about how it can't happen if you're not doing it. It's called parameters. Hashem and I came up with the term parameters. Don't think that somebody taught this to me besides God. Right? Okay. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, they're devils. They love being devils. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, they're in the middle of my purchase. They're trying to make it so they can't. They're online right now and trying to make this not an early purchase or fast purchase. This is what they do all day. They're sickos, man. Every last one of them's a sicko piece of shit. Now, it's not the idea where they have to be bad people to stop bad people. They're creating bad people out of thin air, and they're the bad people in reality. They're possessing people. Oh, we can put you away for that. No, you can't. It's my religious right to say that. See how God got that in there? They cannot put you away for saying there's mind control. It's called possession in the Catholic Church. Right? And of course, you know, you can go to Wikipedia, look up Project or Operation, what was it called? Something Ultra, MK Ultra. Look up Project Artichoke. Obviously, they developed it, right? What does this say? Why is that 1655? Oh, is it daily release minute? And these are just checking prices. I'm reading everything they're doing around it. Well, one of the things I figured out is that the chief and that young lady that interfered with my family, the chief interfered with it. It was a criminal conspiracy, right, to destroy a government employee, right? No, it's no little thing. Don't try to belittle it. And I figured out they were having a sexual thing, and like when I said it in the office, like everybody just went and went around her. Right? They were like, so somebody ran back, you know, got paid for it. Well, the idea is that's what was going on, and they were using that relationship corruptly. So yeah, I didn't know, like, I was a seer. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that people couldn't see things that I saw. Right? Because I didn't know seeing existed. No, it's that simple. Thanks, sir. They were having a sexual relationship. And she was deciding on issues related to to her girlfriend. Typical Marshal Service, right? So that, but again, that's why they get the sex investigations, because they'll do shit like that. Right? They'll be the Kroll, the new Kroll. Yeah, you come into town, they got a list of people, and it doesn't, generally it doesn't reflect reality. Right? Oh, of course, every so often they're going to arrest somebody. You have to, that's the game. It isn't something I'm just pulling out of my ass. Obviously, I've been speaking about it for years. That there are criminals in there. Again, the scripture will put that in the New Testament where they number Yeshua ben David with the transgressors. So this is what they're doing. It's numbering people with the transgressors. Because they have a certain number of transgressors that they investigate, then they pull in this person, pull in that person, because they're getting paid to destroy that person. And generally, if there's a crime there, if they're cold casing it or something like that, you have to take that cold case and investigate it, because it could be one of their clients. Now, one of their clients could be somebody that paid them, $2 million to investigate something, their firm, like, 10 years ago. A separate matter, right? So if you find they're putting bullshit cold cases on people, they'll try to say, well, he deserves it, that kind of thing. Don't let them break it down to that. You have to investigate it. You have to find out if one of the clients or anybody affiliated. It's like what I started in the investigation in the 90s, looking at the agents and looking at the civilians and seeing if there was a nexus between that. Because I noticed that Jonathan Luna's lady friend was using members of the community to come after me. Now, I can't tell, I know it wasn't official at the time, but they have a habit of grandfathering it in as being official. So then they go on the payroll as informants at a later date, but, smoke and mirrors, right? Anyways, I was just trying to go to a gym and meet people, and they were doing the same thing they're doing in that church. Now, what they want me to do now is run them in a computer. I could actually legally run every single person in that church that affected me in that way, and anybody I believe affected me in that way. I mean, not in NCIC, but in like people search and all that. Thank you, Larry. But I'm not going to do it. There's nobody to take it to, you know what I mean? Right. I'll just flip it around and say I'm stalking them, right? Great, thank you, Larry. Oh, so yeah, a lot of veterans aren't. Like that woman's not paranoid. The woman, the lieutenant's wife, she's not paranoid. They're doing that to her. Now, she might be paranoid to the point of seeing it where it's not, where the UPS guy knocks on her door or steps up to her door and she thinks he's trying to break in, but that's the desired effect of that psychological operation, that psychological torture that somebody is engaged in to ruin that lieutenant cop's family. And it caused the death of her son. Whoever it is needs to be charged with murder. And until you start doing that, you will be charged with murder, all of you, by the Almighty God. Okay? When you get to hell, you'll say, I didn't murder anybody, but you didn't investigate that case, and it involved the murder of a child, and it's not her fault. You've been given much, and you're doing little. 100%.
Well, the LDS says it's not quite that you're misusing that scripture. Here, another temple, LDS. Great work. Hey, great work. You want to go to lunch?
They go to lunch at Shea up the wazoo. That's their favorite religious action. Their favorite ritual is up the wazoo. No, it's no little thing. They murdered people. No, I'm not shell-shocked from all the people you murdered. I'm angry. But it doesn't mean I'm going to act out physically, because the evidence is what? 35 years I never acted out physically. I was drugged once. Right? But still never laid a hand on a person. I was drugged more than that, but I was drugged sufficiently once. So what happened? Why does it affect me? Well, your brain, after a certain time, and actually I'm in the mind with CIA and all that, every so often it gets through. So over the years, what we believe happened is that they used the drugs too much. Well, of course you can build up a tolerance, but what it is, your brain develops a way around it. So when they drug me, my brain rewires, they can't get me anymore to that point. Well, couldn't at least. And I have to be real careful. I can't just go out to eat and go, hee, let's make a reservation. Next thing, the cops swinging off the chandelier naked. And they go, you do what we say, or you know, things could come up. All right. That's what happens. People are drugged. Right? But that's what we believe happened. That eventually I was able to wire my brain to survive whatever that they were doing, so I wouldn't get that drug. Oh, I couldn't keep the car on the road. I would have been dead, right? And again, I'm sure it would have came up that nothing was there. It's probably who knows what it was. Again, you have to understand about spy agencies. Like here's an example. Actually, I came outside. I got to get moving here. Actually, I want to do the prayers first. But real quick. So a spy agency will tell you. Okay, here's an example. This is a perfect example. Was it Rumsfeld and Cheney come out and say, we're going to start looking into direct energy in like 2003 or 4 now, right? Remember that? Go look online. They've been looking into direct energy since 1960s. So when they tell you there's no drug that they can use to do anything that doesn't come up in any test, that's bullshit. They have it. They have plenty of drugs. And a clown like Carnaby would have access to that. Right. Fortunately for him, he was found out by a cop he was trying to kill. Now, the cop shot him legally. Right. 100%. But again, that's why he was pulled over. The cops like, who the fuck, you know what, if I was in a regular police vehicle, I'd have pulled him over. I'd have pulled some of them over. Right. And because I could call back, the whole system exists backup. When they were stalking me and like trying to get me to come out of my car and either draw it out, like they don't understand, people in the deep state, that if they're trying to get you to draw down on me, I might kill you, right? Or draw down on you. Now my mind was there was like 3 or 4 people in the vehicle and I wasn't going to outshoot them, right? But I mean I could take one-on-one with a guy. I wouldn't worry about it, right? So what I did is I just called, was actually a guy named Dave. And it was during 9/11. I called him down at the airport. I said, "Run this place." He stalked me, road raging me, right? And had a clean record. I was so far down. I didn't do much with it. I kept the information and added it to the other information. I had to see if it came up. I mean, I knew he was deep state. Okay, I knew that. But again, he could have been alone, could have been sacrificed. Or I shoot him and then they charge me, like they did. And I never got out of that vehicle. I just made that phone call and kept losing him. I didn't even have a cruiser. They set it up so I wouldn't have a cruiser, right? But if I had but even in that case particularly, let's say I had a Marshal Service vehicle with the lights, I pull him over, I have no witnesses. So again, I can't pull him over. I can't even afford to pull him over. But if I had a situation where I could bring another vehicle and then pull him over, then I would have done it. Correct. And that's where, what's his name? Arthur Lloyd made the mistake, actually pulling over. Right. I mean, they're killing my wife. You realize it's the full thing. They're killing my wife, killing my kids. Right? So what happens is when your kids aren't around you, especially in a separation scenario is easier. So when your kids are going to see you for the weekend, Friday somebody in their school harasses them. Somebody follows them home from the bus stop. Right? So your kids develop this negativity towards you. And then, when it wouldn't work to the point they wanted it to work, because it was working, they bring in Rick Henry and Karen Shelton. See? Right. Illegally. So Rick Henry tried to make a bullshit case about it in the end. But he wasn't supposed to be involved with my family one bit. Right. In fact, because of the statements he made about my family, the appearance of impropriety, he was required to actually, as I keep coming out here without my base station here, he was required to actually contact another entity to investigate it, right? Which would have been thrown out before it started. That's why I didn't do it, right? Because if Rick Henry walks up to you and says something about Larry Moore in 2004, Baltimore, Maryland, and you're a federal agent, you go, fucking bullshit. Or Karen Shelton, right? But again, there is that deep state thread which they were able to use. I could never get to the point as whether Donovan was just playing good cop or not. So Donovan may have been deep state too. I mean, they extorted him. I knew that. But again, he still could have been deep state. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do.